bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Barbara Rodgers. We're on location today at Covenant House, California. It is a program that serves homeless and at-risk youth. Joining me now is Ann Wrixon. She is the Executive Director of the Independent Adoption Center. Thanks for stopping by today, Ann.
Thanks for having me.
Well, independent adoption versus what?
Okay, well, independent adoption is private infant adoption. And I think, there's a lot of myths about adoption. I think one of the most prevalent is that there aren't any babies to adopt, and that just isn't true.
Yeah, that is something that we hear all the time, that if you want a newborn, you're out of luck. There are older children in the system to be adopted, but not infants.
Right, and that's just not true. There are infants. And the other thing that's not true is that there aren't the sort of discriminatory practices that there used to be around adoptive parents. For example, if you're single, you can adopt. LGBT families can adopt. And in fact, recently, IAC received an award from the Human Rights Committee campaign that acknowledged our best practices in LGBT adoption.
What is it you had done that they awarded?
Well, about a third of our placements are with LGBT families. And in particular, we make sure that our agency has practices in place that there's no bias against LGBT families. And the other thing that's really important around our agency and much of adoption in the United States is that our adoptions are all open. The birth parents know the adoptive parents. They stay in touch with the children after the adoption, which I know sounds really scary to some people.
That is scary.
Right. But in fact, all of the research shows that it's not only best for the child, it's best for the birth parents, and it's best for the adoptive parents. The people who are the happiest in their adoptions, as far as adoptive parents, are those who are in open adoptions.
You know this firsthand.
Yes, I do. I adopted our daughter when she was a baby, and she's now 13 years old, and we are in regular contact with her birth mother, who is just a member of our family.
I think people worry that the child will say, oh, I want to go live with my birth mom, and if they know who that person is.
Right, and in fact, that's an unfounded worry. If they know their birth mother, they know that, in fact, like in my case, my daughter knows if she went to live with her birth mother, she'd still be required to do homework, just like she is at our house.
How about with yours?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. If someone is sitting at home now thinking about adopting, what do they have to have a certain income? Do they have to have a big house? What should they be looking at?
Yeah, actually none of those things. You do not have to have a certain income. You don't have to have a big house. You do not even have to have a separate bedroom for the baby. What you really need to have is a safe physical and emotional space for the child, and you also have to be able to pass a criminal background check.
How long does it generally take from the time that you go in to the time that you actually get the child? Right.
Well, it takes anywhere from about 10 to 12 months. So it's about the same as if you have a biological child.
Yeah, that's not long at all.
No.
You would think, I think most people think it would take a lot longer to go through all of the paperwork and everything that has to be.
Right.
Now, does the birth parent have a certain period of time in which they can just change their mind?
Yes, and it varies from state to state, but no state is more than 30 days. And just so you know, especially in voluntary adoptions, it's unusual. Only about 3% of the time do birth parents change their mind.
How much do you get to know about the child before you adopt him or her?
You get to know a fair amount, especially if you are talking to the birth parents, because you get to get their entire medical history, hopefully back 3 generations. So you'll know a lot about the child. You get all of the medical records before you adopt.
So the most important thing you want to tell people then about adoption?
Is you can do it. That open adoption really is the best option, and that particularly lesbian and gay families can adopt.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ann Wrixon, Executive Director of the Independent Adoption Center. Thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Comcast Newsmakers. I hope you'll be with us again next time. Bye-bye.